Lawmakers are trying to come up with ways to stop gun violence nationwide. Former Congresswoman Gilliards made emotional opening remarks in the Senate's hearing on the issue Wednesday. You'll remember she was shot in the head 2 years ago at a mass shooting during a public appearance in Arizona.
Speaking is difficult, but I need to say something important. Violence is a big problem. Too many children are dying. Too many children. We must do something.
At the other end of the table, the vice president of the NRA had a very different perspective.
Law-abiding gun owners will not accept blame for the acts of violent or deranged criminals.
The testimony yesterday comes days after Senator Dianne Feinstein introduced a renewed ban on types of semi-automatic weapons along with high ammunition magazines. The NRA says the federal government should step up enforcement on gun laws that are already on the books. Mike?
All right, thank you very much, Lindsay. The gun control debate reaches here to our area. 17-year-old Jordan Davis was with friends when police say he was gunned down over loud music. That has prompted his family to take on gun violence, and I'm joined this morning by their attorney, John Phillips, as well as weapons instructor and former law enforcement official, Tom Very. Thanks for coming in. First of all, if there was a ban on assault rifles, do you think Jordan Davis would still be alive today?
Oh, it would have, I mean, it's apples and oranges. You know, clearly this was a handgun, a gun enthusiast, and it was a handgun used in the crime. I don't know that any of the gun laws, other than some stand your ground revisions, would actually affect Jordan's life or death scenario with some of the legislation that's being considered.
So where do you stand on this issue?
You know, as a father, it's trying to decipher what's reasonable. You know, we had a long talk in the green room beforehand and try to figure out, you know, where we can go to make things safer. Does the average person need a 30-round clip? You know, does the average person need assault rifles? And you know, more importantly, and I think the first series of legislation that's going to pass is what background checks nationwide do you need to be able to get that to prevent the, you know, close the gun show loopholes or the Craigslist loopholes. People aren't talking about Craigslist.
Right. Tom, as a former law enforcement official, I mean, you've certainly seen the worst in people. You take the example of Newtown, Connecticut, which has kind of set off this whole gun control debate. Do you agree there's some middle ground here that we can reach?
Absolutely. I think it has to come from a broader spectrum of ideals. All of the facts and all of the information needs to be looked at in an objective way.
You know, there are gun enthusiasts that are sitting out there right now that have their assault rifles, that want all these weapons. And are you a backer of that? Where do you stand on this whole issue?
Well, since you brought up the Sandy Hook incident, I mean, there was an existing gun ban in Connecticut anyway. This was a violation of the law, the way those weapons were used. To say whether or not further legislation or laws would have affected the outcome of that, I don't think so.
A lot of people use the example of drugs, for example. They're illegal, but people are going to get their hands on them. People do abuse them still to this day. Where is the middle ground here, do you think, John?
Well, it's regulation in the future. I mean, we're getting to such an instantaneous society. And if we're to the point where there are 3 guns per person in America, which is, we're already at 1 to 1. And if we get to that point, you know, it's like having drugs in every household in the country. And so, of course, people can go get them. And if you're not regulating some of the criminal element, millions of people applied last year and were turned down because of felonies. And states aren't doing what they need to do to prosecute the people that lied in the applications. The federal's not doing that. You know, but it's trying to find a reason to get rid of the guns with the criminal elements where they have that intent and have responsible gun ownership. I trust this guy with his training with a gun anywhere he goes, but you know, it's that fringe that I don't.
Yeah, real quick, as a weapons instructor, I guess it kind of starts almost with you. If you see somebody that is almost mentally unstable or shouldn't be what do you do? What is your reaction to that?
Well, my reaction is going to be based out of my training and experience, which might be different from someone like John, who's you know, a CCW holder, but we have broad spectrum differences in the training. My approach might be that of like a law enforcement officer. If the situation were to get out of hand, I would dial 911. So I guess, you know, not to just sit here and try to judge what I would do in a specific situation. I'd really have to see what was going on and be there before I could make a determination.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is scratching the surface, I guess you could say. In this
But training is important. Training and education is important. So carrying a firearm for self-defense, a big responsibility. Training and education on use of force law, very, very important.
And respecting that weapon and respecting what it can
Absolutely.
do. All right, Tom and John, thank you so much for coming in and sharing some of your thoughts. Of course, you can continue to debate online if you would like.